Hey everybody, I am so thrilled to be able to do this live stream. I can't even begin to tell you guys how excited I am for this, and there's several reasons for that. So first and foremost, one of the biggest reasons why I'm excited to do this live stream is because here on my YouTube channel,
manage your customers?
Make sure that I just actually mute that so you guys are not like, wah! There's two things going on here. So first and foremost, the reason why that I'm so thrilled to be able to do this live stream is because the last video that I did here on my YouTube channel, which by the way, if you guys have not subscribed yet, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It had ranked as in the top 5 videos I've done on my YouTube channel, and I've produced well over 600 videos here. But one of the biggest reasons why I'm excited to do this call is because we're going to really be diving into a very deep dive analysis about polycystic ovarian syndrome. However, this isn't just for those with PCOS. If you have fibroids, if you have endometriosis, I really think that this applies to so many women who struggle hormonally. If you have an autoimmune condition, which it is in my full belief that PCOS, endometriosis, these are all autoimmune conditions. But we often, when we're approaching these conditions, we're looking at these from the perspective of, it's my hormones. What supplement can I take for my hormones? And you're going to soon discover that it's so much more than just that. And we're going to be talking about the guts function in this live stream, and we're also going to be talking about trauma. And not only just that, we're also going to be talking about what you can do. Because that's why we're all here, right? It's like, well, cool, so that's the info, so what do I do about it? So I want to be able to just start off by saying a couple of things before we dive into this. So obviously, you guys know I'm a content creator. It's definitely a lot of work, but it's a labor of love. So if you love the free content that I pump out here on YouTube, there are several ways that you can support me. You can support me by subscribing to this channel. Obviously, that's a big one. And liking this video is another way to support a content creator like myself. And now there's actually an option to be able to provide a small donation. And so if you look in the chat, if you are watching live, there is a little money symbol there. And simply you can donate when I'm doing these live streams. And any money that I end up receiving from donations, I end up putting them towards the cost of editing those videos, because I don't edit them myself. I pay someone to do it. So while the content is free for you guys to watch, it's certainly not free for people like myself to produce. So anything there, to show your support for me, there's a little money symbol there that you can make a small donation, whether it's $5, $10, anything like that is always greatly appreciated for me. Okay. Okay. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about why I don't believe that, or I don't actually ever address hormones first in practice. This may actually surprise you, because so many people who come to the natural health space will say, well, I want to test my hormones. Now, I'm not saying that hormone testing is inaccurate or that it's a waste of time. However, with all that said, I do want to be able to share with you that it is definitely not the first place to start. I believe in testing very much. I'm very much in the mindset of test, don't guess. Absolutely. However, with that said, I really do feel that it's important for us to be looking at this from the context of, well, where's the best place for me, to evaluate what's underneath all this? And the thing with polycystic ovarian syndrome in any hormonal case, at the end of the day, it is not just about your hormones are I don't say they're messed up, but they're essentially messengers. They're messengers to be able to say, hey, something is off. Something needs to be evaluated here. So the question is, what is putting these hormones to go AWOL? And we know with hormonal conditions, whether it's fibroids or PCOS or endometriosis, something is causing that. And I think that there's a lot of women who come into this space, especially when they're working with me in my membership program. They're coming into this space and They're asking for the supplement. They're asking for the food. And many of you guys will say, like, this is really expensive, Melissa. Like, healing my hormones. And we're going to talk about that word healing and why I hate it so much. But healing my hormones is so darn expensive. But there's so many things that you guys can do absolutely for free. So in this live stream, we're also going to be talking about some exercises that you guys can do because we are going to be talking about the nervous system and the fact that if you're not doing some of these things, I don't care what supplements you take, I don't care what food you eat, none of it's going to resolve. Okay, it's just not. It really, really is not. Okay, so first and foremost, let's dive into a little bit more about one of the biggest places that I look when it comes to any hormonal condition, autoimmune, what have you. I always look at the gut. Always, 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 I look at the gut. And the reason why that I look at the gut is because the gut is virtually where all your hormones are produced, inhibited, secreted. It all is happening in the gut. It is such a powerful place to address. And in so many women, especially if you look at the last video I did here on my YouTube channel, we had Dr. Jessica Pietros, who shares these same feelings I do about hormonal conditions, is like we need to look for stealth pathogens. Okay? Looking at stealth pathogens, we're looking at bacterial, parasitic infection, the reason why we call them stealth, and hello, Camilla, and everyone watching live, feel free to say hi. This is interactive, okay, guys? So the reason why we call them stealth is because they are stealth. They are so remarkable. And I want to talk to you guys also about the spiritual part behind parasites. That might sound super strange, but I'll get to that in a second. But the reason why that we call them stealth is because they really do burrow in the mucous membranes of the gut. Believe it or not, there are even some parasites that love to hide out in the gallbladder. So for example, one parasite that you guys probably know of is Giardia. Now, Giardia can cause intense cramping in the gut, diarrhea, but it can also be asymptomatic in a lot of people. It was asymptomatic in my husband, for example. And Giardia is one of those parasites that love to hide out in the gallbladder. And a lot of people don't realize this. So when we're looking at women who have, gut dysbiosis that's happening, and, you could be pooping twice a day, which, you always hear, like, make sure that you're moving your bowels, etc. That is extremely important. Because if you don't have your elimination organs open, and we're going to talk about how to do that, then you're really going to struggle hormonally. In fact, bile, if you don't know what bile is the fluid that is produced from your liver, but it's stored in your gallbladder. And what happens with bile is that it helps you to break down fats. Bile also is this carrier for these toxins and these excess hormones to go into your bile, and then bile flows through the system, and supposed to go into your poop, and then you have to poop it out. Now, this is a very simplistic way of thinking of this, okay? But if you are not moving things through your body efficiently, guess what? A lot of those toxins and those estrogens are going to end up reabsorbed. So for a lot of women who are struggling hormonally, yes, I talk a lot about the gut, but for so many of these women that I speak to, especially in cases of PCOS, there's just this feeling where they don't feel safe in their bodies. Now, you might be like, yeah, I feel safe in my body. I totally do. But here's the reality. PCOS is very much an autoimmune condition. And I always say it's an autoimmune associated condition because, truthfully, I remember years ago, I had said about how endometriosis is definitely rooted in autoimmunity, and people just lost their noodle. And I think it's because, human beings are these I call them meaning-making machines. We make meaning out of things, and then we create these stories in our head that perpetuate patterns in our lives. So Marciella says, detox? So I'm not necessarily talking about detox. For you to just be moving stuff through is not necessarily a detox. It's just human bodily function. If your elimination pathways, are not open, I don't care what efforts you try to do for your PCOS, nothing is going to shift. It just won't. So what do I mean by opening up your elimination pathways? Number one, you got to be pooping. All right. So if you're not pooping efficiently, we have to look at what foods you're eating. So is your diet, this is a really important part, guys. Nutrition's huge when it comes to PCOS. We have to balance our blood sugar, and removing, this is not oh, well, every now and then I have a little bit of gluten. You got to remove gluten completely 100%. And I know that some of you guys still dabble in it. Others have taken it out. But it's extremely important to be able to make sure that the diet is really nailed down. Now, for some of you guys are, really struggle with intense carb cravings. If that is you, the number 2 thing I look at is, well, what's your lifestyle? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you prioritizing sleep? Do not complain to me about how things are so expensive when you are not doing some of the few things in life that are free. I say this all the time because there are women who are struggling hormonally, autoimmune-wise, and are living in a victimized state. You're choosing to live in a victimized state. And I know that this may rub a lot of women the wrong way, but it's the reality. When we're trying to shift and change things in our bodies, what will end up happening is you will be tested again and again and again. It's like, how bad do you really want this? How bad do you really want this? And a lot of those challenges that you may end up becoming faced with are not there just like, oh, just when I'm getting somewhere, this happens to me. No, it's there for you for your evolutionary growth, and it's part of your journey. And so with PCOS, I always look at, obviously, nutrition, because my background's in nutrition and Chinese medicine, but I'm also looking at lifestyle, right? Lifestyle is huge, massively, massive, massive, massive. And these are the things that are free for you to implement. And so one of the things we're going to be doing today is I'm going to share with you guys a little meditation that you guys can do for yourselves. I'm also going to be sharing with you ways to tone your nervous system. So why do we talk about the nervous system when it comes to things like autoimmunity, PCOS and hormonal issues? Well, the reason why we talk about autoimmunity and PCOS and estrogen dominance and all of that wrapped into nervous system health is because when you experience something, and PCOS is very much rooted in trauma that happens at an early age. Usually trauma can happen within the first 7 years of life. Now you might be thinking like, I didn't go through any trauma. I had like really good upbringing and my parents were awesome and all that. But believe it or not, trauma can be something that you may not deem as something like big and traumatic, but it has affected you to this day. But when we experience something, we don't experience it. We don't think it first. We don't think it first. We feel it first. Then our brain makes a perception of what that situation is. Okay? Now, this is a really important distinction to make that I want to be able to share with you guys because when I look at PCOS, I see this as an autoimmune condition. And it is, there's an Ayurvedic proverb, which is that autoimmune diseases is undigested anger. Okay. Now, a lot of women will come to me and go, oh, I love the fact that you're talking more about autoimmunity and trauma, and I'm loving this angle you're doing, Melissa. But one of the things that I just want to make extremely clear is something that my husband had said to me. Now, he said, oh, Melissa, God, everyone's gone through trauma. Everyone's a fucking victim. And I said, that's not the case. The work of trauma work is not to victimize people, but rather to empower them, to say okay, I've gone through this. And versus sitting there and basking in the complaining and the commiseration of it and replaying those stories again and again is to be able to go, I am ready to do the work. Okay. I'm ready to do the work and to have more of a collaborative rather than a combative relationship with our bodies. Because when these things happen to us, we have to remember that children and young adults, they do not have fully developed brains until they're about 26 or 27 years old. Okay, so their prefrontal cortex, which is, decision-making and logical thinking, isn't actually developed yet until they're 26 years old, 26, 27 years old, okay? That's a really big thing. So a child state, the development of such is actually self-centered. And I'm saying that in the most loving way, but their brains are not fully developed until then. So when we experience trauma at any age, specifically younger, but definitely even as an adult, like I said, we don't perceive it first with our thoughts first. We're not like, okay, well, this happened to me, and that means this. No, we feel it first. We feel it with our bodies, and we feel it with our nervous systems. And this concept, coined by Dr. Porges, is called Neuroception. So the difference between neuroception and perception is the difference between perception is that with neuroception, that it is the detection without awareness. Okay, so you feel it first. You're not consciously aware of it. You're not making stories of it yet. You've just felt it. Then your nervous system feels it. So neuroception precedes perception. Perception is thinking about it, right? We think about it, we make up stories, yada, yada. Remember, human beings are meaning-making machines. We are. What begins as a wordless experience of neuroception, okay, so something we feel, okay, without awareness, drives the creation of a story that shapes our daily living. And oftentimes this happens at a very subconscious level. And I'm saying all this in a very loving sense. And I'm saying this because of the fact that when women say to me, well, this happened to me, I'm like, what are the stories that we're creating around this? We're creating a story of this because of the fact that it's triggering something from a subconscious perspective. Very much so. Very much so. Human beings operate 95% in their subconscious. So if you're operating 95% of the times in your subconscious, and most women that I work with are living from the neck up, they're on autopilot. They're reacting, pew, 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 reacting like crazy. I see this all the time. Now, I want to just let you guys know and to remind you of a couple of things that you're watching here live, and I really appreciate all of you guys who have shown up. There are several things that you guys can do to really take advantage of some additional learning in the realm of PCOS. So first thing I want to be able to share with you guys, I'm just going to grab this for you, is I do have a PCOS 411 guide. I love this guide because I have put together a couple of recipes in there. I put some supplementation advice in there. I've also put in some other resources that I've used, not only for myself. I was diagnosed with PCOS at 27 years old, and I had I had the markers, like proper diagnosis of it, and I have come out completely clear of it. So when people say, and I don't believe when people say, you know, if you have PCOS, you have it for life. I don't believe that. I believe that the human body is a very remarkable thing. And we cannot wave the God wand around and just say like, no, it's absolutely impossible. There have been remarkable remissions of all sorts that have happened. So I want to be very clear about that as well. Okay. So that is the first thing that I want to share with you. And then the second thing I want to share with you guys is if you're like, you know, I really dig all this information. I want to be able to work with you. How do I be able to work with you? One of the best ways to work with me is in a membership program that actually was first birthed and because of PCOS. It started off as a PCOS membership, which is Sexy Lady Balls. So I've put those resources there in the comments. And I also just want to be able to relay again, guys, if you love the stuff that I'm putting out here, remember that now you guys can offer small donations if you'd like, when all the donations whatsoever goes towards editing costs. So there's a little $ in underneath where you can comment there. And you can essentially just make a small donation, whether it's $5 or $10, to support all the free content that I give you guys. That is certainly not free for me to produce. Now, with all that said, I just want to be able to share with you guys a little bit more about the nervous system, okay? So a working principle of the autonomic nervous system is every response is an action in service of survival. So let me just say that again. Every response is an action in service of survival. So no matter how incongruous an action may look from the outside, okay, how shitty it looks from the outside, from an autonomic nervous system perspective, which is, you know, your nervous system is always an adaptive survival response. Always. The autonomic nervous system, it doesn't judge about good or bad. It doesn't. It just simply acts to manage risk and safety. Okay? And so I bring this up to you guys, and the reason why that I'm bringing this up is because of the fact that if we're not loving our nervous systems, when you have PCOS or any autoimmune condition, you are, just being human for Christ's sakes, you are going to be triggered to some degree. And those triggers then manifest as a physical response. Maybe that's eating, maybe it's staying up late, maybe it's going on social media, it's doing anything that we can to be able to distract us. And hello, everyone saying hello. Thank you for saying hello. But we do anything to be able to thwart a feeling. Nobody wants to feel mad. No one wants to feel angry. No one wants to feel sad. Nobody wants to do any of this. But the problem is that if we do not understand how to feel, and I know that this sounds basic, you will continually be creating the same patterns again and again. And those patterns, again, are based on your subconscious from the past. Human beings live from the past. They live and they operate from the past. So then the question is, well, how do we change that? How do we change that? And why is it important to change it? Well, it's extremely important to change that, especially with polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's extremely important because I truly don't believe, or I truly believe, I should say, with cases like PCOS, endometriosis, Hashimoto's. And remember, if you have one autoimmune condition, you probably have a second one. And what that means is a term called polyautoimmunity. So there's generally more than one autoimmune condition present. The body's not meant to attack itself. And that's what's happening. You are attacking yourself. These conditions didn't just manifest overnight. They took years to manifest. And when we have stuff that is going on emotionally, when we have trauma that's underneath there that has not been resolved or addressed, guess what ends up being affected? Our gut. This isn't to say that you can't get parasitic or bacterial infection whatsoever from eating contaminated food or water, because of course that can happen. Absolutely, that can happen. There are many, many, many reasons for that, okay? But parasites, the interesting thing about parasites is that they're so fucking intelligent. And yes, they do nasty things like they feed on nutrients, so especially iron. Parasites love to feed on iron. So does bacteria like H. pylori, which is indicated in peptic ulcers. It can be asymptomatic in a lot of people. 2/3 of the world's population has it. Huge huge correlation with PCOS and Hashimoto's and a lot of other hormonal issues, specifically estrogen dominant ones. And the reason why is because progesterone, which tends to be low in these types of issues, is also supposed to act as an anti-inflammatory hormone. So we end up seeing that these women are generally have a higher predisposition to have H. pylori. Okay? And so many women say to me, I have H. pylori. I found out that I have H. pylori. It's come back. And yes, the reinfection rate is pretty high because it's very contagious via saliva. Because if you have it, chances are your partner has it as well. But we rarely ever address H. pylori first. We look at co-infections, parasitic infections. Parasites don't want to kill their host. They thrive off having you survive. You may be weak while they're there, but they thrive having you there, okay? And what's really interesting about parasites is that they will gobble up on a lot of heavy metals. And then it's kind of like playing a deal with the devil. They'll say, all right, so we're going to hang out here, and we're going to, we've gobbled up some cadmium, and we've gobbled up some lead, and we've gobbled up some copper. Now, if you kill us, we're going to release these in the system. So you need us, okay? So in essence, they really are pretty remarkable. And to be honest with you, the more, like if you look at the psychology of these hormonal conditions like autoimmunity, where we're looking at, or an immune condition like autoimmunity, where the body is attacking itself, and then you have a parasite that is attacking the body, it's fucking war. And we have to make peace with our bodies, okay? Which then at that point begs the question, how on earth do you do that? How do you make peace with your body? Well, I want to share with you several things that I want to share with you. So number one, you will never be able to fix your diet. You will never be able to stay on a plan. How many of you guys have actually fallen off the bandwagon? Many. I have done the same. And the reason why that I have generally fallen off the bandwagon of some sort is because something that was going on personally in my life. There was my lifestyle maybe wasn't great. My sleep, I wasn't prioritizing it. That was probably the last thing I implemented in my health. You're flushing money down the drain if you're not getting sleep. You just are. None of this shit will work. Stop complaining that stuff is expensive. You're not sleeping? That's free. And that has to be addressed. Number 2, you have to make sure that you're creating space for yourself. Now, this is where people tend to get really pissed off because they'll say, well, how on earth am I supposed to make space for myself? I'm so busy. My only me time is at night. Your me time is not at night. That night time of by the time you get the kids to bed, by the time that maybe you do all the things, you stay up late, that's robbing you of any capacity to actually think clearly. Because I will tell you, never trust your thoughts on a tired brain. When you're tired, you're going to eat shit. When you're tired, your inner critic, you're literally just, you've got the whole popcorn crew that's going there eating and eating and eating and telling you that you're worth nothing. And this is something that I just want to share with you guys that is so important for you guys to value. Always start off with the lifestyle stuff. And this is the part that women don't want to hear because they want to know how can I fix this now? It doesn't work that way. You have to look at the lifestyle. Have to. Okay? And creating space is absolutely crucial. I'm just going to make sure I brighten my screen there. Creating space is absolutely crucial. So one of the things that I suggest to women is to meditate. Now, this is where, again, there's going to be eye rolls, etc. with this. But it's extremely important. Now, you can go on Insight Timer app. We're going to do a little meditation together that you can implement on your own. We're going to be doing that more towards the end, so stick around. But 10 minutes is all I ask of you guys. I have worked up from 10 minutes to now I do 40 minutes twice a day. And some of you guys go, how do you find time? Is you find time for what you value. We make time, we speak about, and we spend money on what we value, period. Just look at your bills. And when women say, well, I don't have time, but you have time to complain. You have time to be on social media. You have time to commiserate with people with shit that is already long past. You have time. 10 minutes, once a day, you have that time. Trust me, you do. And the reason why that I say it's so absolutely crucial is because if you're not creating that space for yourself, then there's absolutely no way in sweet hell that you will ever, ever, ever be able to do any level of trauma work. You won't, because living from the neck up will not allow the body to feel. I am not poo-pooing talk therapy. I do believe that people have to go sometimes and speak to somebody, but I also believe that talk therapy can only get us so far. I truly believe that oftentimes that trauma is stored in the body. It's very much stored in the lymphatic system as well. We think about the lymphatic system with, immune health, and, you think about maybe your lymph nodes around here. Sometimes maybe one's been a little bit hard where it's like, oh, that's a little congested. So you have this fluid, this lymph fluid, and sometimes it just isn't flowing very well. The lymphatic system is made up of 95% water. And guess what? This is another elimination pathway. So we talked about the gut. This is another one, okay? We have to move the lymph. Dry skin brush, guys. You can go to your health food store. You can buy it on Amazon if you want. Dry skin brush. This is such a crucial addition. I do this every single day. I even brought my dry skin brush to this hotel room because I do it every day and always do it towards the heart. And one of the things when I was talking about meditation, there's so many different forms of meditation. Guided, there's trancey kind of binaural beats that you can listen to. That's how I prefer to meditate, is to listen to binaural beats, because it helps me to get into that state. And meditation is something that takes time to get better at. It's just like lifting weights. You're not going to go to lift 100-pound weights if you've never lifted a weight in a day in your life. And then there's also something called breath work. A resource that I want to share with you guys that I think is so crucial if you were really, truly committing to not being a victim and to see this PCOS or any condition that you're currently struggling with as an opportunity, as an evolution for your growth, to go deeper, is to get a book by the name of The Presence Process. Okay? So I'm going to write that down. The Presence Process by an author by the name of Michael Brown. I love this book so much, and it is a breathwork practice, and it is where you have to dedicate 15 minutes of breathwork twice a day. Now, breathwork, I'm not a certified breathwork practitioner. It is a certification that I am actually working towards. But when you do breathwork, there's many, many, many different forms of breathwork. But one of which, at least with Michael Brown, is when you're breathing in, you're taking a really deep inhale, so through your nose. And so this is a conscious, connected breath work. And when you breathe out through your nose. Now, human beings are the only species, this is kind of wild, that takes a pause after we exhale. Just think about it, like, we pause before we inhale again. We're the only species that does this. Kind of wild, right? I thought that was kind of wild. Look at your dogs if you have a dog. I have 2 dogs. They're not with me. But they don't. They're always in this present moment. And, for the longest time, I never really understood when people said, the presence is all we have. I was like, yeah, whatever, presence is all we have. But because I was the most resistant individual to meditation, I suck at it, I don't know how to do it, my mind keeps racing. Of course your mind's going to race. My mind still races. You're not fucking Buddha, okay? Remember that. But the more that I sat and did it, the more that I realized, holy fuck, my life is changing. Answers are coming to me. I'm starting to respond in my life more than I react. Remember I said to you, we are meaning-making machines. Meaning-making machines. And we make things mean shit by stuff from the past. So when you're telling yourself you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, you're that, you're blah, 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 it's all based on your past. It has nothing to do with the future. It is based on the past. Your anxieties about the future, all based on past beliefs. You will never get past that if you don't actually start some level of meditation practice. I cannot suggest this higher. And it's fucking free. Okay? And the presence process is an incredible place to start. It is extremely deep work. Such deep work, in fact, that I share this resource to you guys, but this is one of the many things that I talk about in my hormone membership program, Sexy Lady Balls. So if you guys are like, wow, I really love this deep dive into PCOS, where she's talking about the gut, she's talking about trauma, I've posted the link there for my membership, and I would love, love, love the opportunity to work with so many of you guys, because I do think that it's possible to come out on the other end of this feeling so much better. But when we do breath work, the reason why it's so powerful for that lymphatic system that I had mentioned is when you do breath work, you are moving, especially diaphragm breathing, where your diaphragm is like right here. You guys can't see it, but I'm just going to put my screen down. So diaphragm's like right here, okay? So when we have that deep breathing, so not just your chest, but you're actually breathing, and you can feel this expanding. And we have that diaphragm breathing that's happening here. What is happening there is it's actually moving the lymphatic system. So, yes, you've probably heard about like jump on a rebounder. That's really helpful. Yes, that's great for the lymph. Dry skin brushing, amazing for the lymph. We've got to move the lymph. The lymph is an elimination pathway. It's an elimination. We have to move it. But breath work also moves it as well. This is the reason why that sometimes when people do breath work, especially longer type sessions, so there are group sessions that have been like an hour long. Imagine doing breath work from an hour long. Guaranteed you will be in tears by the end of it. Shit comes up. Because one of the things that Dr. Jessica Pietros had once said, which I loved, was the lymphatic system is the emotional shock absorber. And so how many of you guys here have tight hips, butt, and thighs? I do. Okay, so you can get those like really cheap and cheerful like rollers. You can get them on Amazon. Sometimes they're at the gym. A lot of them are at the gym. But you can roll on them, not like that, because that's not the way you roll, but you get what I'm saying. You roll your hips, you roll your thighs, your IT band. etc. Jumping rope is also great too. There's so many things. I'm going to share more ways to be able to do this, but like inversions, putting your legs up the wall, downward dogs. These are all ways to really help to move the lymph, because the lymph doesn't move unless you move. Okay. You move, it moves. But the beauty of breaking up tight fascia, which is the connective tissue, okay, is when you end up doing that, it's like, say for example, the lymphatic system is like a highway. Now all of a sudden, it got to this traffic jam, which is your tight fascia. Okay, ever try to massage out tight fascia? It hurts like crazy. Okay, but when you break it up, the lymph moves. So this is where I've seen people even in yoga start crying, and they have no idea why. And the reason why is because all of a sudden they're like moving and stretching, and they're breaking things up, where now the lymphatic system is moving. There's no more traffic jam on the highway. It's moving, it's flowing, and stuff that hasn't moved and flowed in a long time is now moving. Remember, when we open up our elimination pathways, we don't just benefit physically, we benefit emotionally. The body is not these separate parts like we see it in Western medicine. There's a cardiologist, there's a gastroenterologist, there's a gynecologist. It all works in tandem, and the mind-body is no different. Absolutely no different. So you got to be pooping. You got to be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water. You got to move that lymph. So even, rebounding, jump rope, these are great. Sweating. If you have access to a sauna or a place around you, that would be great. And when I was talking to you guys about pooping, if you are someone who finds that you are not moving things, or you just don't feel like things have eliminated like properly, you cannot be taking on detoxes unless you're opening up your pathways first. It can be extremely dangerous to do so because you end up reabsorbing. Remember, you kill a parasite, if you kill bacteria, it's actually it can become more virulent in the body than when it was alive, which is the reason why those pathways have to be open. So even thinking of like considering Anne says, I'm just going to give you a thumbs up because of your title alone. You rock. You're very, very sweet. Thank you, guys. That is one amazing way to support me here on this live. I super appreciate it. And remember, guys, the little donation buttons there, no pressure whatsoever, but it is there in case you guys want to make like $5 donation, $10 donation. All of the donations coming in goes directly to editing costs for my videos. Okay, so the reason why that I really dig all of this study is because when we're looking at opening up elimination pathways, we're improving the body's function. Why would our elimination pathways be closed? Our elimination pathways can be closed oftentimes because we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe in our bodies. So what happens is we develop either this immobilization that can happen, and these are nervous system responses, or we can have this like fight response. I see this one very common with so many women that I see coming through Sexy Lady Balls, my hormone membership program, where some of them come in, many of them come in, they're extremely reactive women. And while that is not an excuse to treat someone like shit, and I kibosh that stuff right away, because sometimes other people haven't told them that this type of behavior is inappropriate. But it's also such an opportunity. Fuck, it's such an opportunity. And I know that sounds crazy. It's like, wow, I just reacted and snapped at someone. Have you ever reacted and snapped at someone and felt super guilty afterwards? I have. I get goosebumps saying that, but I have like, oh my, I can't believe I just spoke to that person that way. That is awful. But that is, like I said to you guys before, and I want to be really clear about this. The autonomic nervous system does not fucking judge. Every response is an action in service of survival. It really, really, really is. And we look at autoimmunity like PCOS. This is undigested anger that's happening, guys, in a really fucking big way. And for me, I was angry for so long. I had gone through a sexual assault at 21 years old. There were definitely things. I remember being suicidal at 13 years old. There were so many things that had happened that made me feel so unsafe. And when we feel safe, you either freeze, you can fight, immobilized. Like there's so many things that happen with our nervous system. So what do we do for our nervous system? Let me tell you. Number one, we have this nerve. It's the 10th cranial nerve. It's called the vagus nerve. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's a really shitty joke. But anyways, the vagus nerve is such a remarkable fucking nerve. And it travels to the brain, to the gut, okay? And it operates all these, not just your gut and your brain, but these are those gut-brain reactions where you're like, oh my God, my gut, like if something happened and you feel it in your gut, or like it's your gut-brain connection. So when women say, I'm struggling with depression, you're struggling with depression. Number one, there's a trigger happening in your subconscious that you are completely unaware of. You will never figure it out unless you actually open yourself up to create that space for yourself, number one, which is why meditation is important. Number two, where is any inflammation happening in the gut? Parasitic, bacterial infections. We have resources in Sexy Lady Balls that can help you test your gut at any time if you are open to that, okay? And there's never any pressure, but those resources are made available to ladies that if they want to upgrade to get our stool testing, which if you guys join, I believe someone said, I'm just going to go back here, Shireen, forget the donations, I'm becoming a member. That is extremely sweet. I'm so excited to be able to work with you, Shireen, and anybody else who's listening into this, because I do think that is such an important thing to be able to help women out as much as humanly possible to work through their issues. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to work with you. But I talk about the vagus nerve because when we perpetuate patterns in our subconscious, and sometimes they repeat seasonally. I've had women saying like every fall this happens, like I get triggered or I hear something, I get triggered. It's almost like Pavlov's dog, right? Like you get triggered, okay? The vagus nerve, I should say, starts to lose its tone. We have to strengthen the tone of the vagus nerve. So I want to share with you guys a couple of things you guys can do. Number one, this sounds super strange, gargle. Gargle twice a day. Doesn't matter for how long. Some people can't do it for very long. Sometimes people can do it for like a couple, like 5 seconds. However long you can do it for, gargle. That's a really big one because it actually hits the vagus nerve, and that's helping to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest state. So gargle. That's number one. These are really basic, free things you can do. Number two, another really great thing that you can implement, okay, is the use of your voice. So chanting, singing, you can do this in the shower, also really helpful, helps to strengthen the nervous system. So in yoga, you're going to see people, they chant Om, really helpful. But another thing I want you guys to do, and this is going to sound so strange. Let's do this together, okay? So it's the bee breath, like bee, like bzz, bee breath, okay? So I want you guys, this is your humming. So you're like, so you breathe in, and when you breathe out, okay? So you're humming on the exhale. But here's a caveat. This is going to seem strange. You're going to close your eyes when you do this, and you're going to close your ears, okay? And you get a peripheral sensation, like a whole sensation within your head. And this actually also helps to strengthen the vagus nerve. So let's do it. So breathe in. Okay, we're gonna do it one more time, and when you do that humming, you're gonna try to make it as loud as humanly possible, okay? So I'm in a hotel room, people are gonna think I'm nuts. So we're gonna do this one more time, okay? Breathe in. Kind of strange, huh? That's another really great way to help to tone the vagus nerve. And we do that because it helps us to put us into that parasympathetic state. Okay. So when we start to disconnect from our body, or if you ever try breath work and you're like, the fuck? I feel so anxious when I do this. I feel worse when I do this. I've had women who said that to me, even when they have done yoga nidra. They're like, I get so much anxiety from doing yoga nidra. I get so much anxiety when I do yoga nidra, Melissa. I don't want to do yoga nidra. Like, all this stuff comes up. The reason why that's happening is because your nervous system is being activated. And that is a subconscious response that happens. So when that happens, we have to be able to relax the nervous system. One of the ways to relax the nervous system and to even prep yourself, if you feel more anxious during meditations, if you feel more anxious during, say, a yoga nidra meditation, Insight Timer is an app that is really, really helpful. And Insight Timer app is extremely helpful for all different kinds of meditation. Okay? Really, really, really helpful. So one of the things about Insight Timer that I really, really, really love is that they have guided music, what have you. But if you end up feeling more anxious, one of the things that you can do, even throughout your day, if you are switching from one project to another, if you are feeling really overwhelmed, if you're feeling a bubbling of anxiety, I want you to stand up. And here's another thing that you guys can do. So I'm just going to stand up to show you guys, and just move this here. You can stand up and literally shake. So you're not going to see it here, but you're going to see my legs. You see my knees. So my knees are doing this, okay? And I'm literally just shaking. The whole purpose of this, and this is something that we learned in Chinese medicine, so I just want everyone to do this with me right now. What this is actually doing is this is helping to relax the nervous system, okay? And so you literally do this for 2 minutes, okay? So I'm just showing you basics. You can do that if you wanted to and kind of watch that. You can do that as you're listening to this live. But I'm just going to kind of continue here. But the reason why that this is such a powerful tool is because it really helps to move those emotions through the body, which is extremely important. Okay. So I want to be able to share that because I think I've had women who've said to me, every single time that I try to meditate, I immediately start to feel very anxious. And they don't even understand why. Some of the trauma that you might even be experiencing it may not even be yours. Trauma actually flows within 7 generations. It travels through 7 generations. Think about that. Think about the marginalized community, women of color. You're looking at Black women. You're looking at Indigenous women. You're looking at so many different subsets of women out there who've had a history, a lineage of trauma. So 1,000% can be carried through. There's evidence to support that women who are pregnant and who are extremely stressed out, the cortisol then runs to the baby. Okay, so there absolutely can be prenatal trauma that can actually happen as well. So not just post-trauma, but prenatal as well, which, a lot of the therapies that I've seen have been about, well, what happened to you in your life here, but it also could be before you. But this isn't to put you, as my husband's like, everybody's had trauma, Melissa. Oh God, everyone's a victim. This work is meant to empower you. So the number one thing that you can do if you are truly looking to be able to help yourself is to go, I'm not a victim to this. Some shit happened, or maybe some stuff that I'm not even consciously aware of. That was traumatic. Now what? Now I can look at what's there for me. That's where you put yourself into an empowering situation. You cannot walk into this work in a victimized state. You can't. It just doesn't work that way. And at some point, I think that so many women struggle so much at investing within themselves, they'll invest in everybody else around them because there's codependent behaviors. We do these codependent where we sacrifice ourselves to enable and appease other people. simply because we're looking for validation in all the wrong fucking places. The validation has to come from within. Because if you're consistently doing actions and sacrificing yourself to enable other people and appease others, you're doing it at the expense of yourself. And so many of you guys do this knowing full and well that you are not going to get back what you're hoping to receive. But you're doing it because A, that busyness is a trauma response. It is a distraction from feeling, because we don't know how to feel. It sounds insane. It took me 40 years to figure out how to feel. The next time something triggers you, and you'll probably forget this, and I have forgotten many times to ask myself this, is where do I feel this in my body? That is one of the most crucial things you can ask yourself. And of course, I would absolutely love, 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 love to work with every single one of you guys. And you can work with me if you'd like to in my membership. It's literally $57 a month, which is amazing given you have access to me and more of these types of coachings that are more expansive in the group, which I'd love to be able to help you out with. Okay. C. McNeil asks a great question. She goes, gargle with anything, water, whatever, as long as you do it. So really great question. I like to gargle, and what I do when I'm gargling is I'll get some water. Okay. I put a drop of doTERRA's On Guard. And the reason why I put a drop of doTERRA's On Guard is because of the fact that our oral, like this here, guys, is the first place opening of your gut, right? So oral dysbiosis is very much connected with gut dysbiosis. So we have to be able to be loving all of this. So I like that because it helps to act as an antibacterial as well. Thank you so much for the love, guys. Franny and MJ Hart, howdy from Texas. I'm so glad you guys love the buzzing, the bee hum. Just pulled over in a parking lot to watch you. Bless your sweetheart, Michelle. I'm a McGowan I'm McGowan. Makes sense. My mom was dealing with my dad's infidelity while she carried me. That's really big. Imagine the cortisol response that ends up happening there. And then women with PCOS are trying to get pregnant. How on earth are you going to make a safe home for a baby when you don't feel safe in your own home yourselves? PCOS is an androgen-driven condition, male hormones, right? Those male hormones is a really, like, think about it. When you're a young woman, a young girl, and you're reading storybooks, it was the man who saved the girl, right? So now you have this condition with these androgens, these male hormones. It's almost like I'm looking to something else to save me. I have to build up this male type of energy to be able to guard myself, to save myself, because I don't feel fucking safe. But yet so many women with PCOS want to conceive. You're not going to be able to create a safe home for a baby if you don't feel safe yourself in your own body. Shireen says, how long do you hold the bee breath for? So you don't hold it. So you breathe in, and then when you breathe out, you're breathing out through your nose, but you're humming as you're exhaling. So, and you're breathing out, but you're humming as you're breathing out. Okay. So that's essentially what you're doing. Now, with all that said, is intrinsic habit toddlers do to calm themselves down? Thank you for sharing that, Franny. That is such a wonderful comment and to share with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I also want to remind you guys as well that I have that guide, and we're going to just grab that guide. We're going to put it in here. And of course, if you guys want to jump right into the action and join us in SLB, Sexy Lady Balls, you can. So I'm going to put those links again here in the chat. But last but not least, let's actually do a little meditation together that I think would be absolutely lovely to finish this live. So you're all going to just close your eyes for a moment. Okay. Stay in a nice, comfortable position. And for the woman who pulled over to listen to this, bless your heart, you can do this in your car. We're just going to consciously get connected to our breath. There's no rhyme or reason, but make sure your breathing is your inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. No mouth breathing, okay, guys? Just paying attention to that breath, letting it flow however it wants to. Want an idea and a gauge for how we feel. When we feel some discourse in our body, where do we feel it? Taking a nice, good, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And I want you guys next, as we're doing these breaths in and out through our nose, start to become more rhythmic with it. Okay. Got a bit of a gauge before about how we're feeling. How would you rate it from 1 to 10? 10 being you feel amazing. How do you feel right now in your body? From 1 to 10. Just ask yourself that question. Breathe in. And breathe out through your nose. Breathe in. And out through your nose. So now that we have that gauge of how we feel, we have a good baseline. Right now, we want to really concentrate on our heart. Okay, this is the 4th energy center. We want to concentrate on just breathing to our heart, concentrating our energy there right now. Breathe in. And out through your nose. So when we're breathing in and out through our nose, making sure we're breathing in through our heart. So we're focusing our energy and our breath there. Let's do that again. Breathe in. And out. One more time. Breathe in. And out. Next, I want you to concentrate on the space around the heart. Okay? Space around the heart. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. Now I want you to think of something you're grateful for, something that you know that you can deeply fall into a place of love, gratitude, or joy. Take a few moments to be able to think of something that you could easily just get to that place of love, gratitude, joy, something that you maybe laugh about, something that makes you smile. Maybe it was an experience that you had, a place, a time in your life where you know it kind of just puts a bit of a smile on your face. I'm going to tap into that just for a second, just to think about that for a moment, okay? Breathe in. And out. And this might even be something that you desire in your life. So maybe that desire is, I want to have a baby. How would you feel if you had a baby? Would you feel a sense of joy? If it is, tap into that joy. Maybe your desire is, I want to build a home. Open up the windows of that home and let your face touch the sky and the sun beaming down on your face. You would feel free, maybe. Just tap into that freedom. Breathe in. And out. So whatever that happy place is for you, that feeling, I want you to experience that feeling, not just through visualization, but with all your senses. How would it smell? Would you taste anything? Would you touch anything? And when you're really tapping into this feeling, I want you to concentrate on the feeling around, or the space around your heart, tapping into those elevated emotions. Breathe in and out. We're thinking about those elevated emotions. We're expanding our heart, our fourth energy center, and we're allowing those elevated emotions to help us radiate that heart center. Breathe in. Sort of think of this like the Care Bear countdown, where they have their heart just beaming from their chest. Feel the energy is just expanding all around you, filling up your room with that joy. Maybe it's the freedom. Maybe it is laughter. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's gratitude. Whatever that emotion is, take that emotion and breathe in and concentrate that energy around your heart, around your physical body. Breathe in and out. I'm going to do this again. Breathe in. And out. Do 5 more breaths before we finish this short meditation off. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Breathe out slowly. Breathe in. And out slowly. Breathe in. Breathe out slowly. And that is the time. Our little bell button that just signals to us, okay, we are done with our meditation. Now I want you guys to ask me, or to tell me, I should say, is how do you feel now from 1 to 10? Put your hand over top of your heart, every single one of you guys right now. And I want you to just for a moment go to say, I am grateful. I love my body. I am grateful for this life. I'm grateful for these challenges. And tune in right now for just a moment, get into your body, and out of a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel right now? And in the chat, I want you to let me know, how is that compared to where you started? Okay? How is that compared to where you started? Where do you rank now? Do you rank as maybe an 8 now, a 7 now? Where are you at? Okay? Really important. This is just about creating space, and we did this very short. I think that was maybe 10 minutes, I think, when my little alarm went off. Okay? All right, guys. That is it for this live stream. If you dug this live stream, I feel pain in my heart, and that means there's more to work through there. So we go back and you continually investigate that, because something is trying to move through. If there's pain, something is stuck, and we keep revisiting and we keep practicing and we keep going back to that breath and creating space. Okay? So once again, guys, if you Oh, my scalp was tingling throughout the whole meditation. I started at 6 and now I'm at an 8. That is amazing. 2 points up is great. So guys, I would love the opportunity to be able to work with you guys. You can grab that link that oh my God, Heba, 2 when we started at 8 now. Yes, it's amazing. Ladies, I would love the opportunity to work with you guys further. Please join us in Sexy Lady Balls, or at the very least, you can simply grab that PCOS 411 guide for more tools on how you can implement, on what you can implement and go from there. And for those of you guys who have provided a small donation, thank you so much. I super appreciate you. It's wonderful to be able to feel supported on this channel. Please make sure that you have subscribed if you haven't done so already. And remember that new episodes drop every single Wednesday, and I do a live stream once a month where we can hang out. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I hope to have the opportunity to work with you soon and to get to know you guys better. All right.